So I had mentioned earlier that President Kufuor's issue could not be about attendance at meetings, because he definitely will be invited to the meetings, the decision-making structures of the party. If he wasn't able to attend, there's nothing that could be done. I mean, you couldn't go to a meeting of the National Council and take a decision, and then somebody would say, oh, but let's go and consult so-so and so-so. It's not going to be possible. So his issue would not have to do with attendance at meetings or invitation to attend meetings. What I gather is that he made specific references. He made references to the Okwe Committee, for example, which was set up to look into the significant causes of the party's defeat last year. And the Okwe Committee did a lot of consultations, a lot of meetings, and they met President Kufuor. And they had a long session with him about what he also thought and what changes he would suggest and so on. And they met a lot of other people. I suspect President Kufuor expected that at the end of the work, they would give him feedback as to, because he had engaged them for a couple of hours. He expected that they would give him feedback. And he didn't get that feedback. The next thing he knew, the report had been presented to the National Council. So he thought they should have done him the courtesy of giving him maybe a draft copy, if not the final copy of the report, so he could see what was going to be given to the party. He also made reference, I gather, to the Frank Davis Committee. Okay. The Frank Davis Committee, after the Okwe Committee's report and recommendations, the Frank Davis Committee was set up to look at the Okwe's report and also get feedback from party people as to what constitutional changes would be feasible, well, I mean, would be required and would be feasible. So the Frank Davis Committee was set up after the report of the Professor Okwe Committee. Now, the Frank Davis Committee also met with President Kufuor. I think they were with him for 2 or 3 hours to get his feedback on the way forward. And he also expected that when the Frank Davis Committee finished its work, he would have been given feedback. And so not getting that feedback and just hearing that the committee had finished the work, done their collation of views, and they've presented a report to the party, he felt he should have been given some advance. Okay. Now, because President Kufuor is the NPP's first president, you can see that is not a small personality. So the National Committee, the National Council, decided to appoint a 5-member group to engage with President Kufuor on his issues and to see what accommodation can be made. Because, like I said, I gather that President Kufuor made 2 references to the Okwe committees and to the Frank Davis Committee. So to see what kind of arrangements can be made in terms of those specifics. President Kufuor had written to request that he would have liked to attend the National Delegates Conference in person, but he is out of the country as we speak. So he had requested if the National Delegates Conference can be moved from Saturday, which is the 19th of July, to the end of August, when he expects to be in the country, and he would have liked to attend that delegates conference. So, and of course, there was also a Blekuma. So the party called an emergency National Council, because the National Council which fixes the date for the delegates conference. And so emergency meeting was called of the National Council to consider President Kuffour's request for the postponement. And when the National Council met, President Kuffour's letter was read. It was considered, but it wasn't possible to accept his request.
Why?
Simply because of logistical issues. The request came in a bit late. All the arrangements have been made for the delegates conference. We are looking at 6,000 people, party people from across the country coming to Accra. The planning processes have been completed. The venue had been secured at the University of Ghana's Sports Stadium. Accommodations have been secured at UPSA, Valley View University, Anakazo. Anakazo is a church.
Yes, at Mampo.
At Mampo. We couldn't secure accommodation at Legon, but accommodation have been secured. Now, payments have been made for venue, for the accommodation, for catering, the whole shebang. So, if we're going to postpone to say August, end of August, you couldn't guarantee the venue, because as soon as the league, the football league kicks in, the University of Ghana Stadium wasn't going to be, you couldn't guarantee that it would be available. The UPSA, where we got up nearly 2,000 or so accommodation, we got it because the second and the third years were out of school. Yeah, you couldn't guarantee that end of next month, end of August, the cohorts, the second, third year will not be in school. Same as Valley View. Same as Anakazo. Anakazo apparently is a very busy venue for a lot of church events, and you couldn't guarantee that all of these places would be available if we were to move the conference to the end of August. So basically, it was just logistical issues. If the request had come in a bit earlier, because the planning committee had been set up, and Joe Wise, I'm calling him Joe Wise because he himself likes to be called so, but Joe Wise.
Joe Sewusu,
yeah. A planning committee had been set up under Joe Wise. They had been working for 2-3 weeks before the request came in. So it was unfortunate that because of the logistical issues, the National Council could not accept. But